We're on.
We're on. Fantastic. So this is our second ever live stream. So we're still getting used to it. So apologies if we're slow or anything whatsoever. So it's no secret that we're going to be talking about the game that's just finished, which is Rangers 3, St Johnstone 2. Now, we went 1-0 up at half time with a lovely goal from Barry Mackay, but we'll get into that a bit later. The goal scorers were Barry Mackay, Martin Waghorn, and Emerson Hyman. Blair, which was your favourite goal of the three?
Oh, Barry Mackay's was a lovely, sweet shot in the long corner, very well taken. Emerson Hyman, again, just pulling out the heart, didn't he? Out of nowhere, picking the ball up, bottom corner, perfect goal. I would probably say Hyman's just because of the importance of the time of the match. Unbelievable. Mental.
Yeah, completely agree. So what the goals were was Barry Mackay's was a long shot that was drilled diagonally into the goalkeeper's corner. And the fact that he had such confidence to do that after, let's face it, direct football, which was encouraging to see in that first half, was sensational to see him score that kind of goal. It reminded you of the goal against Celtic, but just nowhere near the kind of calibre. Martin Waghorn's goal was sort of a skimmed header that went past the goalkeeper from a lovely cross from Kenny Miller. And it's good to see Rangers players scoring headers because that's not something that happens so often. And Emerson Hyman, it was just brilliant. A lovely touch, which led into a sort of half volley, turned scissor kick, and it went into the keeper's corner.
You've disappeared, by the way, Ben.
I'm back.
Yeah, I think the movement of the front three was different class in the first half. I think Martin Murphy had just scored after the start of the second half. I think Barry Mackay was also more direct in this game. It was like he was told direct run into the channels, central runs, attack the back four, and make a nuisance of yourself. And I think that allowed Kenny Miller sort of just to drop off into that hole and play around and sort of drag the defenders out into space. And it was good to see the sort of movement basically allowed Mackay to have the opportunity to score the goal.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think the reason why Rangers played such direct football today, which was absolutely encouraging to see, because what normally happens is we'll make it past the midfielders, we'll be up against the defence, and then we'll sort of turn the ball around, pass it sideways or pass it backwards, hit reverse gear. But I think players like Emerson Hyman and Barry Mackay, what they really strive to do, what they want to do is they want to be a menace to defenders, don't they? And Martin Waghorn, we'll move on to him because sensational game that he had for the most of the game today. Emerson Hyman, he wants to run at players. He wants to be a menace. He wants to drive that ball forward, sort of similar to Ross Barkley for Everton. He doesn't mind passing the ball as long as it's diagonally and it's going forward. Yeah. But what I haven't seen him do consistently, on occasion, every player will do it, is drag the ball back and then pass it back to the defence or to a midfielder behind him, because that just gets rid of momentum completely. And Barry Mackay, I was very impressed with him today. His flicks, his tricks, his inability to give up. Did you see the occasion where he tried to sort of jump and flick the ball and completely missed the ball? And his head didn't go down. He just continued trying to add skill and some sort of quality to his game. And I think that is why I rate Barry Mackay. And talking of Barry Mackay, if you like this poster here, which is from the Rangers Bible on Instagram, you can head over to their Instagram and go and get your own. It's top quality and it's very cheap.
Yeah. Talking about Barry Mackay, also the goal that he did score, it done a hell of a lot for his confidence. I think that you can see when he did score the goal, there was some of the checks and flicks of last season were starting to happen up and down the wing, making himself available. Link up play again. It was unlucky, I think. And certain chances in the first half, he could have got more than one. But yeah, right up until half time, then even after half time, it was all positive. It was brilliant, and it was good to watch. Good fluid football. A bit times, yeah, they were a bit slack at the back, but I mean, this season we're kind of used to that anyway, aren't we? To be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Though I said to you, and you raised a good point. I said this first half we've been playing convincing football, and what you said was quite rightfully, yeah, but the defence is still inept, and I just think that's something that we got to get used to. It should happen, but even when the new manager comes,
used to, and then there's a level it shouldn't get to that point again.
Yeah, it's the same defenders, it's the same mistakes. Rob Kiernan, right? Let's move on to Rob Kiernan's red card. I heard the fans complain at the game, and it's very different, isn't it? So when you're watching on TV, you get all kinds of angles, and when you're at the game, you've only got where you're sitting. But just to clarify, for me, that was a stonewall red card. Challenge from behind, connecting with the player's feet, and that's the kind of thing that makes me angry as a football fan, because if they're not your direct rivals, if they're not a team that you hate, why would you do something like that? That could have potentially injured the guy, and injuries is something I do not like seeing.
I think that
in
the
football.
fact that it was closer to the halfway line than it was for the goal was even more frustrating. I mean,
I know. Just
back to goal. I mean, the whole situation leading up to the foul, you would never have thought, like if you said, "Oh, went and back to goal, the player's halfway line, Kiernan just flies in, no pressure at all on the ball." I mean, the ball was closer to going out, I think, than it was staying in. So yeah, it was a very, very, very strange decision, and I think it really sums up his season so far. To be honest.
yeah. Rob Keane is always something to talk about. He wasn't even really consistent last season, was he? In the Championship, he's just about managed, but he was never consistent. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and balance out negatives with positives. So we're now going to talk about Martin Waghorn. And Blair, what do you think about Martin Waghorn's game?
I don't want to say anything bad about the magic heart that was, but Matt Warburton's departure seems to have sort of rejuvenated him in a sense. It's given him a second sort of leg, but it's not a completely different Martin Waghorn, but there's something about his game has changed. Sort of, there's a bit more about him, and the movement and the eagerness to get on the ball and the eagerness to get past a player. And I think there was like one point in this first half, I think he was backed up the corner and he took on two players and managed to find his way out, and suddenly was running into the box. And again, that's another player that done that last season, such as Mackay. And you're starting to think, right, okay, this is new. Like, we've not used this Waghorn this season. Better refresher. So yeah, and obviously the goal that he scored just sums up his performance tonight. Even.
Yeah, I think the goal that Kenny Miller put in a lovely ball, but what Kenny Miller did was he picked his head up and he saw that Martin Waghorn was making a good run, and if Kenny Miller didn't see someone in space, he wouldn't have bothered putting a crossing because he doesn't like to waste possession. Martin Waghorn, there was a point in time during the game where he was sort of by the corner flag and there were three St Johnstone defenders on him. He managed to dance his way through and get a corner. I think that Waghorn is definitely talented, and I don't think he this season has had the ability to shine under Warburton, because 4-3-3 not being the first choice like striker, even though he's a very talented striker, what Warburton was trying to do was to use that dribbling that he has got and try and teach him to use that out wide instead of attacking players head on. But I'd very much like to see him playing at striker. I'd very much like to see that.
What Waghorn is, I think I mentioned earlier, Miller did drop deep tonight. He did drop into a hole where he was sort of a bit like a Wayne Rooney. He was sort of everywhere in the middle, but he was also committing and contributing to the final third. I think because of that, it allowed Mackay and Waghorn on both flanks to sort of come central and allowed both of them to make a nuisance themselves in the box and then around the box. And that's probably how Miller managed to pick out that cross from where he was playing all game to see also Waghorn come over to the other side to score the Johnstone header. So.
Now, Joe Garner came on, and one of the first things that he did was he was pretty much, it was under pressure for the shot, but he was pretty much past the 6-yard box, and he managed to smack the ball into the post when it would have been easy enough for him to finish. And it pretty much sums him up for me, because what the commentators, Tom Miller and Kevin Thompson, said was, actually Kevin Thompson, what he said was, well, Joe Garner needs to get that goal, doesn't he, to give himself confidence. But we've been saying that. Every time that he has scored a goal, we've been thinking, great, that should get his confidence back for him. I'm just not sure if the guy can finish, but he's definitely a pest, and he does contribute to the game. But he just doesn't finish anywhere near as much as he should do, paying over £1.5 million for him. I mean, that doesn't sound like much to people who follow English football, but if Scott Sinclair is near enough 4 million, then surely Joe Garner should be getting more of a return than 5 league goals for 1.8 million.
It's a very difficult one, isn't it? Because you've seen him score the goal against Hamilton, and it was a superb taking goal.
It was a lovely long shot.
It was a lovely effort. But you'd have thought, I've said it time and time again this season, wait till he scores that goal and then he won't stop scoring. And he did score that goal and he hasn't started. So I don't know if, obviously, not starting him is another problem. His discipline's a problem. His goal scoring's a problem. But, different managers bring different things out in players. So we just have to hope that whoever comes in can sort of give him another lease of life and hopefully push him on to get that goal that's going to start something for him. Because I think the tactics for him don't suit him, and I think whoever comes in might play a more flat 4-4-2 or a more flat system, which might be back to front or whatever. Alex McLeish does that, so I might suit him. We don't know. We'll have to just wait and see. But right now, yeah, he's been a waste of money. Shame to say, but he hasn't performed. So, yeah.
I think that if we could have a defensive midfielder with Joe Garner's mentality of be at their heels and sort of, hello, nice to see you, sort of be at the heels and sort of, the Jack Russell sort of mentality in midfield. I think that would be brilliant to implement that in a central defensive midfielder. But it's what we don't have, the Souness mentality. We'll never have a player like Souness, unfortunately, ever again, I don't think. But that mentality that you would put your own life on the line instead of having a player beat you and potentially attack. Because attack after attack, St Johnstone did unfortunately have, and they ended up one-on-one with either a defender or one-on-one with our keeper more often than we did against them. Why is that? Why could our defence not stay compact like theirs did quite often against us?
I think it's a lot of discipline. I don't think you can't teach a defence to defend in 2 weeks like Graham Murty's had. I think it's been a long-standing problem since Waghorn's came in. I don't think Murty's going to be able to just come in and just sort that out overnight. I also think the personnel that's there is not going to be. It's not good enough at this moment in time. So I don't know, to be honest. It's a bit of a mess. I think we need a manager in first and foremost to get it sorted, and then see what happens from there. All Graham Murty can do is paper over the cracks, and there is some pretty big cracks to paper over. So he's doing not a bad job, but the problem still persists as long as we sort of stem the blood flow right now. That's all we're asking.
Yeah. Just while we've got a spare second, this is a shout out to Rangers fan page, Rangers Picks and Rangers Loyal on Instagram. They're all very supportive pages to the channel, so make sure that you check them out. Eventually, I'll have their link in the description as well. So let's talk about Clint Hill. What would you think about him as a defender in this game?
Quiet one for him, wasn't it? There was a few iffy moments, but I think if you say about a defender that it was a quiet one for him, it's probably the best thing to say about a defender, because you don't want to say too much about the game.
You took the words from my mouth. That was literally what I was just about to say to you, so congratulations. But I thought there was a bit of the comedy. It's all right, we've seen. But I thought there was a bit of the comedy effect to the game where Clint Hill was always falling over. Did you notice how many times he fell on his face in that game?
Yeah.
I thought it was
absolutely I think that's Clint Hill, isn't it? He'll just fling himself everywhere. He's a type of player that will just do what he wants to do, defend how he defends, and obviously look after the defenders next to him. Clint Hill's a funny one. Clint Hill can have a really good game, and a good game for Clint Hill is we don't hear from Clint Hill, and I mean, it's just I don't know.
Yeah, unless he's bagging in 2 goals in one game, of course, which has happened once. But so what I think about Clint Hill is, yeah, I do like him, and I do think he's a good defender. But I haven't said that. I mean, I have said previously that it wouldn't be hard to outclass him with a new signing. But what I don't like about that whole defence is when the second goal was conceded, and thus fourth at the point in time, it was 2-2 and they equalised. No, not one defender was screaming in another's face. Hands were raised and the eyes rolled and the head tilted back. But that was it. There wasn't one player that went right into the face of another player or the player they thought was responsible, and there wasn't enough noise made. You want to see that passion, don't you?
Yeah, that's what's missing this season. I mean, the fans obviously expect a level performance, like any other fan base. But the thing that's been rotten most this season, I think, is just the passion from all over the park. And there's certain players like Kiernan, maybe Clint Hill at times, but even for West Brom's quite voice. He does shout out to his back four. But yeah, I think overall this season the passion's been lacking, and I think the back four especially have been needing that sort of kick up the backside to make sure that they can get, if that goal does go in, let's make sure another goes in. And tonight again, you've seen that wasn't the case. I think there's no emphasis on keeping a clean sheet as much as it should be. I don't think it's a priority. I don't know why. I mean, I always talk about being a priority, but they don't play like it. So, yeah, I think our passions.
Blair, there's one thing that is really annoying me right now, and everyone who's watching, I'm going to need you to bear with me on this because I know some people will disagree, but it's actually Lee Wallace. I think as a captain, he's definitely a captain off the pitch because, he always dresses well, he talks about Rangers well, and he does well for the image of the club. But for me, what a captain needs to be doing is leading by example vocally on the pitch. Should someone be making a mistake, look at completely different caliber of players at the time, of course, because it was lower leagues, but I think it was Krabari and Lee McCulloch. Now, when I was at games with Lee McCulloch, whenever Krabari made a mistake, Lee McCulloch tore into him. He was literally giving the discipline that a captain should be doing. Lee Wallace, he doesn't seem to open his mouth when he plays, does he? And he's always, if ever he runs up the pitch, he always leaves his position spare. And Tavernier does the same. And, you know, subsequently, that leaves a defence, a two-man defence for Rangers, which is why we get counter-attacked.
Yeah, the reason that I'm not really mentioning Wallace as a problem is because I don't really see Lee Wallace as a captain. And because of that, I don't think right now Rangers have a captain.
Exactly. So, I'm glad you agree.
Yeah, I do agree. And I feel like everyone knows that's an issue. So for me to point out the obvious, yeah, it's hard to say because the guy brought us up through the leagues and he's a club legend in his own right. I mean, you could call him a legend. I think I would call him a legend. I don't know anyone else, but I think, you know, for what he did do for the club through the times at obviously third division especially. But I don't think that should give him the right of passage to the armband. I don't think that's an automatic, right, well, that means he should get the armband. Don't get me wrong, I think he's a top-class professional. I think he's right up there, but leadership qualities are very rare in the game. I think Claude McAlealy told Canty today that his leadership skills need to be worked on. So, I mean, top players, not even top players have it. Not a lot of them anyway. So, yeah, we need a leader on the pitch, and I don't think we have that right now. So, yeah, passion, leadership, big qualities are missing this season, but I'm sure they'll get fixed soon, hopefully. No, he's frozen. He's frozen. Hello. Interesting.